The footage you're about to see has never been released to the public. This is the 1955 Udall, Kansas tornado, an EF-5 that set the wheels in motion for the modern day system we have today. Viewer discretion is advised.
The original 8mm up in here.
What building do you think that one was?
I don't know. My mom, if we had this something we could slow it down, she could probably. We got into there.
Oh, that's the Lutheran
Was
Church.
that
Yep, that is.
church?
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the story of how I got to my ranch in Udall. After working 28 years of my life straight, hardly taking a day off or any vacations. I'm 40 years old now. Moved to the Midwest. Decided I was ready for a change. And if I was ever going to get to see Tornado Alley, now was the time at 40 years old to make it happen. I'd spent all my time on the West Coast. And then in the end, I became depressed. Depressed with the weather. Depressed with my job. My job defined me. I was the heating guy. I was the guy you called if your parents' system went out. Your friend, your relatives, your neighbors. I couldn't go anywhere without getting stopped and asked about it. And in the end, I was just tired of solving everybody's problems and not solving my own. So I packed up. I went the reverse way of the Oregon Trail. When everybody headed west, I went east. And I went out to the Midwest to find myself. I had no aspirations of being a storm chaser. I had 2 little kids. But when I got this ranch, this 400 acres, it was just a slice of heaven. Little did I know it'd only last so long. And for those that don't know, Udall, Kansas is the site of the 1955 Udall tornado that changed everything. It wiped out the town and set the modern day system that we have in place today. And it all started here. Actually, it ended here. Legend has it that EF5 tornado ended at my ranch, right at the lake.
So I just pace. I just pace all around, all the time, looking up to Nebraska, Missouri, Oklahoma, and my boys in Colorado. I don't want to be inside. So yeah, I just literally pace from one end to the other, staring at the clouds.
This is one of the closest times I've ever been struck by lightning. A Texas A&M professor and meteorologist would later break down my footage in still frames I couldn't even see it and show the tracer bolts hitting the concrete right next to me. I ended up with a concussion and a bloody nose after this video. I don't recommend going out in lightning, but at the time I thought I needed to watch for tornadoes for my family.
I actually ducked down under the ground. Whoa.
Oh, let's see that again. That's called an SLC. Scary looking cloud. Imagine not knowing what it is and you see this in your window. Rained for what seemed like 40 days and 40 nights. In the end, the Army Corps of Engineers came, and my earthen dam was deemed unsafe. And the floods of 2019 were some of the worst floods ever seen in modern times in both Kansas and Oklahoma.
All right, so we're taking some L's on these storms. Garage doors busted on both sides, so that panel's completely shot. Last night, this fascia split off. Gutter's been twisted for a while. I'm just waiting until these storms are done and into the month, and then I'll start fixing all this stuff. And then just a good old flood. I mean, right on out. I mean, nothing says fun like a river runs through it.
Oh, we're down to a trickle now. There's just a little bit of water. The flooding never stopped. This happened for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Currently under a severe level 1 tornado watch until 10 p.m.
Little Rolling Thunder was born May 23rd, 2019, under a tornado watch turned warning in Kansas, Wichita.
Is that funny, buddy? Is that
You
funny?
tickle it?
He wants his bottle.
Does that tickle? Does that tickle?
This tree's always kind of captivated me because it obviously got wiped out by high winds of some nature.
Ironically, this truck, that's one of the few photos from the Udall tornado, was not far from my house, less than a mile. It was a brand new truck sitting on the dealership 6 miles away in town, found stripped of virtually everything, hanging in a tree just by the frame.
Rainbow!
Is this your first rainbow? Aren't they awesome?
No, so awesome. Okay, which path will I take?
Which path will you take? I don't know.
Down.
Okay, you want to go to the rainbow? Find the pot of gold?
In the end, black mold ravaged the inside of this house. My baby was just days old, and my newborn had to go away from this air. We moved away.
The trees are soft.
The trees are soft?
Mm-hmm.
Did you love this view?
Mm-hmm.
Is it your favorite view? Yeah. I love this view too. I'm gonna miss it.
See?
Yeah, but that's alright. I love you.
Mm-hmm. I know what you did.
Oh.
As I sit back 3 years later looking at my time on that ranch, way before I didn't even know there was a storm chasing community. I didn't know the life that would be ahead of me. At that point, I'd retired. I had relegated to being on that ranch. I was ready to live and die the rest of my life. There, raise my kids, not see anybody. I was enjoying the anonymity I'd never had in my life. And don't let it all be sad. I got to fish a lot.
Another largemouth. Largemouth.
The silver lining is, I got to spend 2 years with my little brother. I hadn't been around him since the 80s when we were little kids. Unfortunate circumstances took us apart. But here we are years later. We have our own private lake, and him and I had fishing competitions on top of fishing competitions. In the end, what happens in the dark must come to light. And that night in 1955, when hundreds died and the town of Udall was wiped out, I don't believe if I spend my time on that ranch, I don't become so obsessed with finding footage I had no clue existed. But I just had hope that it did, that somebody took the footage from that night. It would be 2 years later in a parking lot of a VFW where the internet doesn't exactly get to, that I'd find the footage from that night in Udall. Out of deep respect for the community I used to live in Udall, Kansas, I've overlaid storm footage to conceal those lost on that night.
Oh, you've
Just
got the
jumping.
original 8mm up in here?
What building do you think that one was?
I don't know. My mom, if we had this something we could slow it down, she could probably, we got into there.
Oh, that's the Lutheran
Was
Church.
that
Yep,
the
that is.
church?
Okay.
Yeah.
She could tell you if that was a Lutheran church building or not. You know, you'd have some pretty good footage here if it wasn't running 90 miles. It doesn't. He had this spastic way of,
You didn't know though. I mean, how would you know?
well, it was because it cost everything.
Understand the importance of this. To have a citizen have an 8mm camera in 1955 taking this footage would be like somebody having an iPhone in 1999. It's incredible. This man's father had the wherewithal to take his camera and head out the next morning to see the devastation.
Not perfect.
Look at
There's
that. Wow, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow, I just got goosebumps all over my body from that one.
That's Chikaskia River. That's the bridge that was down. This is the southeast part of town. That had to be a hard hit tornado.
This tornado would go on to damage the entire town and destroy hundreds of buildings. It would kill over 100 people in total and would become the worst tornado in the state's history. The excitement of finding this footage lasted only hours. After seeing it and realizing I'd opened Pandora's box, I'm making a documentary to honor the town and the families that were lost. Reality was, Udall was just one of 46 tornadoes on that brutal May 25th and 26th of 1955. Became known as the 1955 Great Plains Tornado Outbreak. So bad that there was actually a St. Elmo fire observed in the storm. Prior to the 1955 tornado outbreak, it was still illegal to say tornado on the radio. It was frowned upon after the aliens had landed. A fiasco from Orson Welles, startling the public, was met with criminal punishment. The first EF-5 went through Blackwell, Oklahoma, respawning into the next EF-5 that took out Udall and took a hard right and headed for my ranch. The farmer that I bought my ranch from was 5 years old and his sister 8. They remembered it like yesterday, showed me every portion of the ranch had been wiped out. She ended up building the berm home that I lived in the 70s and moved away to Las Vegas and never came back. Never wanted to come back and has never returned since. We had to leave the ranch, ultimately ending up in Oklahoma. After 7.5 years and 2 beautiful children, that relationship came to an end. I didn't plan on being a storm chaser. I just thought I'd get to chase whatever came over my property and have to wait till the kids were older. Then 2020 happened. COVID. Everybody had to stay home. It was either now or never if I was going to be a storm chaser and start this channel, which actually just started out as just a diary for back home. But then everything changed after this video.
So, stand up here about a mile, we'll jump off,
for southeastern Tulsa
turn our
County,
cameras
goes
back
into
towards the
Creek
city.
County until 6:45.
That was close!
Now technically, this was my second chase. My first chase, I got incredibly lucky. It was on the Springer Gene Autry tornado. Just a week before, asked Teak about it. I hired a guy online. I didn't know him an hour before we went chasing. Paid him $100. He was a concrete worker and the rain was forcing him to be at home. Gotta pay those bills and keep those kids fed. So he jumped right on it, didn't ask any questions. Literally, no sir, yes sir, where do we need to go? That was it. I got that tornado the week before. The next week, Teak showed up, and this happened.
That was close! That was really close!
Of southern Mays County, we want to get the official word from the emergency alert system.
Oh, it's pulling up, dude. Look at the water's coming off the ground. Here goes the tornado alert. Dude, I say we, What do you want to do? Go right. Go Sand Springs. Go Sand Springs. There's the Moody Medical Center. At least we're close to a hospital. You hear those sirens?
The National Weather Service in Tulsa has issued a tornado warning for southern Mays County in northeastern Oklahoma until Central Daylight Time. At 6:31 p.m. Central Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 4 miles southwest. Creek, moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. Expected hazards include tornado. This is a radar-indicated threat rotation. The following impacts are expected. Flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed.
Here comes another one!
Damage to roofs.
I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please subscribe, follow, and watch as part 2 comes out next Sunday.